All right, man, peace. So, brothers, every once in a while, I'll get one of these over-righteous dudes who'll come into my comment section and they'll say, "Why do you spend so much time making videos about sports?" You know, one of these guys who acts like he's in a cave praying for 25 hours a day, 8 days a week. Or one of these dudes who thinks everything everywhere is rigged or something along those lines. And as I've told you, brothers, numerous times on this channel, one of the main reasons why I like to cover sporting events is, number one, I watch sporting events. I grew up watching sports. There's nothing wrong with watching sports as long as you understand what it is. It's just entertainment. You're not supposed to look at anything as an idol or anything more than what it is. Number two, it's a great way to reel in the so-called black man, to let him understand that I'm a regular person. I'm not someone who believes that I'm always correct or that I'm on the level of some type of prophet or celestial being or anything along those lines, any nonsense like that. And number three, sports oftentimes is a microcosm of real life. It really is. When you watch a sporting event, you get to see how people respond to adversity, who's able to think on their feet, who's a leader, who's a good follower. Once again, let me say this. There is nobility in being a good follower. Because a good follower, number one, knows how to stick to the game plan, knows how to execute, and knows who they should follow. Because everyone's not a leader. And what you also see in sports, which is a microcosm of life, a reflection of life oftentimes as well, you'll see that when a certain team or a certain individual in a particular sport attains to a high level of success, people will gather around that person or around that team and see what type of dissension they can sow. And that's what we're starting to see with the Golden State Warriors, with a lot of ancillary components in the NBA world, the NBA universe, trying to encourage Kevin Durant to leave Golden State. Why are they doing that? Well, they're doing that for the same reason that a group of lonely females may try to convince their homegirl that she should leave her man because they see that she's happy and she's about to depart from the group. A lot of times people are not convinced that the key to success is trying to ascend to the highest levels by using people who are successful or teams that are successful as an inspiration. Instead, they prefer to try to tear them down. And that is currently what Kevin Durant and the Golden State Warriors are experiencing, with people trying to encourage Kevin Durant to leave Golden State, trying to prey on what they perceive to be the weaker aspects of Kevin Durant's psychology, which is his vulnerability, oftentimes his insecurities that he's been very open about, to try to use those things against him, get him to leave that squad, hopefully weaken Golden State, and in their minds give themselves a better chance to achieve success. Stephen A. Smith has now come forth and stated that he believes that Kevin Durant should leave Golden State. And as we know, he's been on a crusade to try to pull some level of alpha male, quote unquote, out of Kevin Durant that's not there. Well, anyway, they're going to talk about it. I'm going to chime in.
Gentlemen, let's get into it. So, Katie said he feels validated now. He's earned 2 rings, 2 finals MVPs, nothing else to prove in Golden State. Though, he did say to Rachel Nichols that he plans on staying with the team. Stephen A., should he consider leaving the Warriors?
Let me answer before Stephen A. Smith answers. Number one, no, Kevin Durant should not consider leaving Golden State because his job there is not done. Leaving Golden State right now would be the equivalent of squeezing an orange only halfway and then throwing it in the trash. You're doing a disservice to yourself and to the orange. The orange was growing on the tree for you to utilize it for all the juice that it has. You squeeze it dry and then you leave. You don't leave before that orange is squeezed all the way out.
I think he should, believe it or not. I really, really do. Not to say that it's going to happen immediately because you're the champion. You can go for a three-peat if that's your agenda. That's fine.
Why would that not be his agenda? As a matter of fact, his agenda should not just be a three-peat. His agenda should be, we're going to win as many championships as possible while I'm here. There's no guarantee that if Kevin Durant were to go to Miami or to Boston or to Minnesota or some other franchise that feels like it's on the cusp of contending for a world title, that it's going to be a better environment for him than Golden State. He seems to love Golden State, as I've already laid out. They have the perfect formula for Kevin Durant. They have players that can play off the ball, that are unselfish, that are quick decision makers, and the most dominant personality in their locker room is not the guy that wants to take the shots. And on top of that, that same person often acts as Kevin Durant's handler. So what better situation could there be for Kevin Durant in the NBA than Golden State? It's like the equivalent of a person looking at a man who is engaged to a beautiful, intelligent woman and telling him, well, you're looking for the easy way out. Why don't you go marry an ugly, dumb bitch and make that work? Then I'll be impressed.
But I think that if you have an opportunity, if you're Kevin Durant, you're already a two-time champion and a two-time NBA Finals MVP. And if indeed you believe you have very little to prove, it certainly is in Golden State. You have nothing to prove there.
Every season you have something to prove. Just like you, Stephen A. Smith, every time that you choose to participate in a telecast on ESPN, you have something to prove. And you better understand and believe that, or they will replace your ass. Every day is a proving ground. Every day.
But there is still one nugget left. And that's having your own team where you're the alpha dog, where you are the face of the franchise, and everything is riding on your shoulders as a number one option.
Once again, brothers, sports oftentimes is a microcosm of life. You should always be very wary of who you're getting advice from. Brothers, let me say this very quickly. Whenever you decide that you're going to receive counsel from someone, or quote-unquote advice from someone, you should have the discernment to be able to look at that person and evaluate whether or not they have an agenda to do you harm or to do you good. Because everyone has an agenda, it's just whether or not it's to do you good or to do you evil. And always take into account the fact that when someone chooses to advise you, to some degree, they should be in the position that you're looking to get in. And I'm not just talking about from a monetary or professional perspective, just from a psychological perspective. There are people who have their shit together mentally. And if you can see that and understand that, and you want to get to where they're at, then sure. But always remember, you don't take real estate advice from a homeless person. You don't take relationship advice from someone who cannot maintain a relationship with a significant other. So always keep that in mind. Right now, you have people who have never achieved what Kevin Durant has achieved who are trying to give him advice. Why is that? Because they're looking to sow dissension. It's like the play Othello. Iago was jealous of Othello. So he sought to take him down by preying on him through what he found to be Othello's vulnerability, that being his wife. Always keep that in mind.
Now, if you talk to people who know KD, throughout the years, they've often said he's not that kind of guy. He's a guy that likes to get in.
Look at Bill Russell behind Kevin Durant. Like, what is that young nigga doing? That ain't nothing but the shuffle butt. We used to do that back in 58.
And fit in. You know, he doesn't want to be like the face, the alpha male, the alpha dog of the franchise. That's not his MO. He doesn't lead that way. He goes on the court and he hoops. All right, well, if that's the case, then you stay where you are. But it's not like you wouldn't have anything to prove. I don't think there's much left to say about him other than what I just pointed out. Because when you were in Oklahoma City and you had Russell Westbrook as a teammate, you were universally recognized as the best player on that team. It wasn't Russell Westbrook, but...
Right, Stephen A. Smith, but once again, and I don't understand why these people seem to not grasp that it's not up to them to tell Kevin Durant or dictate to Kevin Durant what situation he should find comfortable. We're in 2018. We're no longer in 1968 where you had to stay with one team your entire career, no matter whether or not you felt as if your teammates created the proper formula to maximize or optimize what you brought to the table. Russell Westbrook will never optimize what his teammates bring to the table. This is why we're seeing that all the talented players that play with Westbrook leave him and become better players because he does not make his teammates better. And the modern liberal sports media has a very unhealthy infatuation with Russell Westbrook for whatever reason. They claim that it's because he harkens back to an old school style of play. Well, let me tell you something. There were no players back in the 90s. There were no guards who were allowed to do what Russell Westbrook does today. None. Penny Hardaway played under control. A lot of the other perimeter players who were very talented, Gary Payton, they played under control. They were not allowed to go into games and shoot 12 for 36 and 12 for 37, and it was okay just because they got a triple-double. So I have no idea what 90s era a lot of these guys are talking about when they claim that Russell Westbrook is a throwback player. Now, if you're claiming that he's a throwback because of the masculine energy that oftentimes he seems to exude, well, he has no control over his energy. A large part of being a grown man or alpha male is being able to moderate your emanations of energy. Because if you don't moderate yourself, anything that you emanate can overpower those around you. That's why even the scriptures tell you to not be a lion in your household. Just because you're a man and you're supposed to preside over your environment does not mean that you should take your power for granted and abuse it. Russell Westbrook took his responsibilities for granted and started to abuse them. He started to take shots he wasn't supposed to take, dominate the offense in a way that he was not supposed to dominate it. So this frustration at Kevin Durant for quote-unquote leaving Russell Westbrook high and dry is nonsense. We've gotten a chance to see what Russell Westbrook has done with other talented teammates. He's done nothing. There's no way in the world that those guys were supposed to lose to Utah with home court. That was an abomination.
But somehow, some way, he had the alpha dog mentality. You didn't. It didn't work out. And no matter how you slice it, when you departed from Oklahoma City, you gave the impression I couldn't win with Russell Westbrook. You go to Golden State with Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and a collection of that crew, and you win 2 championships back to back, and you're an NBA Finals MVP. So now you're a champion. Now, what's left? The one thing that's left is you being that alpha dog.
No, sir, that's not what's left. The brother's 30 years old. He's not an alpha. It's okay. It's all right. It doesn't mean that he's not a great player. It doesn't mean that in certain spots in the game he can't take over. That's like saying, well, you know what, James Worthy? You were the MVP of the 1988 NBA Finals. So now the only thing that's left is for you to force a trade away from the Lakers, go somewhere else, go to Denver, and lead them to a world championship. Like, it's just dumb. It's just an argument that people are trying to concoct out of thin air to create all these ridiculous parameters for Kevin Durant to believe that he has to aspire to in order to satisfy all these people that don't really matter.
It being your team without Russell Westbrook, let's see what you do then to find out. Was it really Russell Westbrook or was it you?
We already know that it was Russell Westbrook. We know that based off of how he's played the last 2 seasons.
In Oklahoma City. That's the one thing that's left open for him to prove, and he can't possibly do that being at Golden State. He would have to go somewhere else. The only question is whether or not he actually cares, and I don't think he cares about that.
He shouldn't care, not one bit. Brothers, life is about making sure that you're doing what makes you happy. As long as you're not breaking the laws of the Most High or the laws of the land, you do what makes you happy. That's what it's about. It's not about making sure that other people are happy. 99 times out of 100, the people that are trying to create these parameters for you, in order for you to believe that this is what you should be happy doing and pleasing them, they're not even happy with their own lives. 99 times out of 100, people that are trolling you are just trying to find a way to distract from how much they hate their own life, how much they detest themselves for how simple-minded they oftentimes are.
At least not right now.
Look, where would KD go? You want him to go to Portland? Okay, they'd be really good. I don't think they're going to win the whole thing.
Say LA.
You want him to go to DC? Also really good.
Actually, yes.
Win the whole thing.
Actually, I would like to see him go to DC.
Why would Kevin Durant go to play with the Wizards when he already played in the Western Conference version of the Washington Wizards when he was in OKC and actually had that same coach playing that same style? Why would he do that? This is what I mean when I talk about so-called NBA media pundits and their asinine assertions.
Go home and they have talent on the squad, and let's see if he can put them over the top. LA or New York, those are the 2 major markets. New York's a dysfunctional franchise, although we'll give, the new situation a chance with the front office and everything, but given ownership, it's always been dysfunctional under Jim Dolan. And the Lakers are on their way, but there's not enough there that KD is going to put them over the top.
That's totally hypothetical that the Lakers are quote-unquote on their way. A lot of that is based in the presumption that they're going to land a couple of big-name free agents. So we'll see what happens. I've already done a video where I've stated that it is a remote possibility that Kevin Durant may team up with LeBron James. Well, in light of his announcement that he is going to sign back with Golden State, I have to leave that on the back burner, but you never know what can happen.
Top. But furthermore, Stephen A., you mean to tell me KD joins a super team, a 73-win team that had already won a title, and then came like a possession away from going back-to-back. 73-win team, where had they won the championship, many would have said that's the greatest team of all time. Set most regular season wins, beat a Cavs team with LeBron and Kyrie and Kevin Love, had they done it. He joined that team, and now it's unfair. Since then, Stephen A., no one thought they were going to lose in the finals. Now, I picked Houston to beat them this year, but no one thought they would lose in the finals. Certainly not that first season.
Max Kellerman, you have to ask yourself, is the Houston Rockets lineup with James Harden and Chris Paul better than a player like LeBron James with Kevin Love, a player in a LeBron James that you state is light years ahead of every other player in the NBA? That's what you state. That LeBron James is way better than any other player in the NBA today by an infinite margin. An infinite margin. That's what you assess. That's what you claim. So why is it that you would believe coming into the season that the Rockets had a chance to beat Golden State? You predicted that they would beat Golden State, and yet you gave your boy LeBron James no chance of winning that series. Why is that, Max Kellerman? This is what I mean when I state that many of these people just talk. They can't possibly consciously believe a lot of this bullshit because their subconscious thoughts reveal their true understanding of what's going on.
But now Houston's on its way. And Stephen A., if the Celtics don't do a damn thing, their starting five next year is going to be Kyrie Irving, Jaylen Brown, Gordon Hayward, Jason Tatum, and Al Horford. Plus they'll have Rozier and Smart and Morris off the bench. If they don't do a thing, but what if they get Kawhi? What if they get Kawhi? I mean, the Celtics are coming. The Rockets are coming. And LeBron, wherever he goes, is going to make that team a legit contender because you know he's only going to go to a place that makes a team a legit contender.
It would be hilarious to me if LeBron James tries to go sign with the Boston Celtics just to drive Kyrie out of there. Because to be quite frank with you, even though I have not really mentioned that team as a realistic opportunity for him, it really is. And the only reason why I exclude them is because Kyrie's there. But as we all know, LeBron does not make his decisions based on who's on the roster. He bases his decisions based off of himself being the alpha dog, the alpha male. And we can remove whoever we need to remove to make things comfortable for me. And I believe that Danny Ainge will be ready to do so. He will be ready to accommodate LeBron James and move a Kyrie Irving. Hell, maybe even package Kyrie and a Jaylen Brown for Kawhi Leonard, and possibly throwing a first-round draft pick. I'm pretty sure that would get the job done. If you're the San Antonio Spurs, would you take Kyrie Irving, Jaylen Brown, and a first-round draft pick for Kawhi Leonard? I'm pretty sure that they would.
Now, let's say that's not even Houston or Boston. Let's say it's Philly or San Antonio. You mean to tell me KD shows up in Golden State when really no one else has a chance, when he made a super weapon joins a super team, and now as soon as there's real competition, as soon as it's like, oh, wait a minute, entering the season, we're like, I don't know that Golden State's going to win the whole thing. I don't know if I make him the favorite. As soon as that happens, he's going to leave? Nope. He got there. He won the 2 chips you're supposed to on that team. You know, like, that's what you got to do. It's good.
Once again, please keep in mind that when Kevin Durant joined the Golden State Warriors, he's won 2 championships in 2 seasons there. LeBron James formed a super team, which people claim was not organic. Now people are trying to re-engineer LeBron's decision during that time period, or try to act as if they're going to reconstruct history at that time. Let me say this point blank. When LeBron James signed with the Miami Heat, the overall consensus was that it was unfair that the Miami Heat had that many superstars on one team and they were expected to win a championship. They won 2 titles in 4 years. One of them, LeBron totally choked it away. The 4th one, I'll give him a bit of a pass because D. Wade was not up to par. But the San Antonio Spurs were going to defeat them anyway. Even if D. Wade was fully healthy, San Antonio was unstoppable that season. They were one of the more dominant playoff teams that I can remember, the 2014 Spurs. Thus far, Durant has done exactly what he was supposed to do.
It's good that he did it. It helps him that he did it. But had he not done it, there was more downside than upside there. And now there's going to be some genuine upside. Now it's going to be, let's see if you can beat Embiid and Simmons and LeBron and shooters, or Kawhi and Pop and LeBron and other pieces they put there, or the Celtics, whatever Danny Ainge is going to do. Let's see you do that.
What are you talking about? I mean,
If all of that happened, sure.
Max doesn't even know what the hell he's talking about. Right now, Max is high as hell off of amphetamines, allegedly.
Sure. But I'm talking about, should he consider leaving? I'm saying if everything is equal, if everything stays the same. Well, if LeBron pairs up with Kawhi, if Kawhi lands in Boston, or LeBron ends up in Houston, of course that changes everything. Of course he should stay there and defend because those cats are coming. Don't jump ship now. I'm saying as presently constructed, they're head and shoulders above everybody else, and he's the two-time NBA Finals MVP. So if things as presently constructed stay intact, what's the purpose of staying other than just running the table? That's all I'm saying. I disagree.
I don't think.
Stephen A. Smith, what is the purpose of you staying on ESPN? Isn't it because you believe that it gives you the greatest profile for you to exhibit your talents? Why haven't you left ESPN and joined a much smaller station? Carry them up to defeat ESPN, the sports juggernaut. Why haven't you done that?
I'm giving you a scenario that's likely to play out in some way, shape, or form, but even just take the status quo, even assuming that the Rockets and the Celtics don't do a thing to improve their teams, the Celtics are coming regardless. What I'm saying is the Celtics pose a legitimate threat of presuming health next year,
How would they
this
know?
upcoming season. What do you...
How would they know? First of all,
Max is about to curse Stephen A. out. What are you, dumb? Are you out of your mind? I mean, I know that I work for you, but I mean, damn. Something wrong with your brain? I mean, I know your hairline's receding, but shit.
That's a Game 7 in the Eastern Conference Finals without two of the best players.
Wait. That's right. But wait
and the Rockets should have won that series.
Hold on, wait a minute. Gordon Hayward goes down game 1. You just finished a few days ago talking about Kyrie don't matter because he's going to get hurt anyway. You just said that.
No. I said in this.
Yeah,
he got
that's what
hurt.
you did. You said. I was the one. I was the one that stepped in and reminded you. Excuse me, he got hurt in Boston. That doesn't mean that the same thing would have happened if he were in the Cleveland Cavaliers.
I'm not saying he will get hurt
probably
next
get hurt.
year.
No, Kyrie Irving was going to go down no matter what team he was playing on. That's why he threatened to have surgery while he was still with Cleveland. He went to the Boston Celtics and decided that he was going to try to tough it out. But I guarantee you, he would have had that surgery at the end of the season, even if he had been able to play this entire season without going down. He would have needed to have that procedure done on his knee.
Stephen A., I'm not saying he will get hurt next year. I'm saying he was likely to be hurt this year. We're talking about, hold on, this is very simple.
I agree with you, Max Kellerman.
We're talking about what is likely to occur. I'm saying the Celtics, as presently constructed, pose a real threat to the Warriors this upcoming season.
I agree with that.
I'm saying the Rockets. Yes, I'm saying the...
If I'm Danny Ainge right now, I'm sending out feelers to LeBron James and his team. I'm just telling you that if I'm Danny Ainge, I'm sending out feelers to LeBron James. I'm also sending out feelers to the San Antonio Spurs and trying to see if they would be willing to receive Kyrie, Jaylen Brown, and a first-round draft pick for Kawhi Leonard. I personally would prefer to keep Kyrie, but I'm sure that we would have to throw Kyrie in on that deal because I think that the Boston Celtics have the best chance of any team in the NBA of defeating the Golden State Warriors in a 7-game series. I think that had they gotten to the finals, had they been able to win Game 7 against Cleveland, I think that they would have won at least one game in the finals against the Warriors with their roster as currently constituted at the end of the playoffs. But if they could bring on a LeBron James and trade for Kawhi Leonard and only lose Jaylen Brown and Kyrie Irving and a first-round draft pick, I will put them right there with Golden State. The only question after that would be, what would Brad Stevens do with LeBron James? If Brad Stevens could get LeBron James to play off the basketball like he did while he was in Miami, that would go a long way in Brad Stevens proving that he is the best up-and-coming coach in the NBA.
The Rockets, as presently constructed, pose a real threat to the Warriors this upcoming season, as evidenced by the fact that they got to a Game 7 at home, didn't have Chris Paul, had the worst shooting night ever, and still lost by single digits in Game 7. These two teams are coming regardless of what happens, plus LeBron's going somewhere that gives that team a better chance.
I agree with you, Max Kellerman. I don't think that Golden State is as far ahead of the pack as many people are trying to make them out to be. They've won 3 titles in 4 years. That's not even as dominant as we've seen from other teams in the NBA's recent history. So we'll see.
Don't leave now,
KD. They have to get out of the East first. They only play 2 times a year, and they have to get out of the East before they even warrant consideration.
KD got to defend
the
the chip.
Rockets are obviously legitimate.
At the end of the day,
contenders coming.
it comes down to team dynasty versus personal legacy. What's more important to him?
No, it actually doesn't come down to that because both of those things are interrelated. His personal legacy will be related to team dynasty. So no, he does not have to leave Golden State in order to augment his personal legacy. Not at all. But anyway, peace.